Excuse me everybody. Excuse me. Hello. My name is Stephen Grant. It is a pleasure to be here with you all tonight. In the spirit of following up last year's costume, I am once again a superhero, Moon Knight. Let me just say, I am so pissed though, because I wore this out the other night, and the eyes that glow are now broken. There are mysterious stains all over it. It still looks good, I think, but sorry it doesn't look as good as it could have been. But for the finale of this year's Pumpkin Spice Month, we are gonna go big, once again, very much like last year and that giant cake. But this time, we will be revisiting that 150-hour chocolate cake from Alvin and pumpkin spicifying that beauty. As we remember, that is a ton of work, and I don't have that much time, so let's get right into this one. Now, if you are excruciatingly bored and morbidly curious enough to want to make this along with me, you are gonna have to grab some vanilla bourbon and flour, granulated sugar and some cold brew, some dark chocolate and cocoa powder, lots of heavy whipping cream and a bunch of good quality white chocolate, kosher salt and a ton of eggs, brown sugar and butter, baking soda, espresso powder, and some food dye, vanilla paste, powdered sugar, some dark chocolate chips, pumpkin pie spice, and some whole coffee beans. Now, if you watched that last video, you may remember how long this process takes. 150 hours is about 6.5 days, or basically an entire week, so this is not for the faint-hearted. Day one starts pretty easy though. It kind of eases you into this cake. You gotta brown off some butter, mix that with some of the bourbon, as well as infusing a whole bunch of heavy cream with those whole coffee beans. The first time I made this, I was going into a lot of these processes blind. Alvin doesn't really give a recipe or measurements for any of the things that he uses. I was just using the context clues of his video and some other similar recipes that I've done to kind of guess what was gonna go into this. And it came out really good, like a lot better than I was expecting, but I did happen to undershoot a lot of the ingredients that I needed, so as you will notice, I am going to use probably what's going to end up being an overabundance of every component, but I just hate going back and redoing steps, so it's better safe than sorry in my book anyways. You have to filter out the bourbon from those brown butter bits so you can return them to the melted butter, as well as infusing that with some of the instant espresso powder. And then using that butter along with 8 other ingredients to make our cake batter. And while I was working on all that, I wanted to quickly mention a couple quick things. I was debating if I should even say this, but unlike the spiced brioche loaf and some of the other recipes that I developed, I did not have time to test this on my own. This was a very busy month, a lot of which you guys have seen, and because of how long this recipe takes, I just didn't have time to test it out prior to the video. But in my mind, that first video came out perfect. Like, I couldn't have asked for it to come out any better. And I'm only making some minor changes for this one. The actual cake layers are remaining unchanged. For the filling and the exterior, I'm gonna make a spiced white chocolate mousse, just because I think that will contrast all the dark chocolate very well, as long as obviously go along with the theme. And then my intentions at the very end are to enrobe this entire thing in a orange-colored white chocolate ganache. Use that same chocolate chip decoration technique to cover up any of the imperfections, and we should end up with something pretty good. As I say that, I just had flashbacks to some of the other adventures we've had throughout the years and Pumpkin Spice Month. Even though I always assume, like an idiot, that the outcome of these are going to be at least halfway decent, we have had our share of epic fails too, so even though we haven't tested this first, here's to avoiding that curse today. Day 5 of this process is finally bake day, where you bake off your rested cake batter, use whatever kind of circular mold you have to punch out your cake layers, whip up a freaking huge batch of the spiced white chocolate filling, and then throw it all together with our trusty binder dividers and let it rest in the fridge overnight once again. When I made that original video, I had a feeling it was gonna get a fair amount of views. After all, it does have an absurd, almost clickbaity title. But what shocked me the most was the fact that a good portion of you tried to remake this for yourselves. And a lot of you guys absolutely nailed it. I was really impressed. I guess I kinda underestimate you peeps sometimes. Or it's more so that I can frequently be an incompetent moron, and for some reason I ooze that insecurity. So I do apologize for underestimating some of you peeps. Although the assembly of this cake was a little bit of a debacle, the cake layers did not want to stay together in one solid piece. I think I did the best that I could. You're not really gonna know that the cake layers aren't in one piece when you cut into it. It was looking even better when I got the sides covered up with the mousse as well. And unfortunately, that was the last moment of optimism for this one, so brace yourselves. My attempt at the orange ganache looked like shit, straight up. This was not what I was envisioning at all. And I don't know if it was too warm when I dumped this on, or if it was just doomed from the start and it was never gonna work, but it was way too runny. I was having straight up war flashbacks from the mirror glaze cakes that I miserably failed at. The chocolate chips refused to stick on the exterior of this, and as soon as I turned the camera off, this entire thing just crumbled in front of my eyes. I guess all the fractures in the cake layer just kind of ruined the integrity of this. My options were to sit right down and cry, because I just spent a week on this, or just go numb to it and finish out the video anyway. So maybe the taste will be so good that it'll overshadow everything else. What a shame, man. My cake looks like shit. My costume's all stained up and ruined. I can't tell if this is sweat or literal tears streaming down my face. This doesn't even taste that good. The cake layers are good, but the rest of it is kind of just weird. It tastes like a really shitty grocery store cake. The damn ganache is running off there like a melted ice cream. The chocolate chips suck. I don't think we've had a failure this epic in proportion in a very long time. I told you some of these October videos are cursed, I swear. Sorry this is such an anticlimactic end to this month. We have had some really good other moments though. I'm sure some of you sadistic jerks are gonna take great pleasure in watching this video actually. But to the rest of you, have a great Halloween if you celebrate it, and I will see you right back here for the next one. Peace.
With the M without the AD. Flipping burgers and my money super lazy. Try and make a meal tonight, they ain't paying me. Try and supersize my life with my 18. Yeah, our style wasn't wavy, but we had a vision.